love. I mean, I didn't know I could love as much as I can love until I was a mom. It's really amazing. And I think being a mom is a lot of what drove me to this. It's about creating a government, recreating a government that we can hand off to our children again. It's about taking back what the founding fathers designed for us and handing that off. This run for me is about altruism. This run for me is about doing what's good for the people of this country, of course, including my children, and moving forward. I hope a lot of moms are elected to Congress, because my experience of working with other women is they don't have an ego in the decision-making process. Women are much more likely to look at what's good for the project, what's good for the baby. Let's do that, and then we move forward. And I've always really enjoyed working in groups of women in particular. That's not to say that all men are egocentric and impede progress. I don't mean that, but when you get a lot of women together, things get done. Let's just say that. And you know from being a mom yourself, I mean, you have to multitask, you have to move, you have to just get through things sometimes. And I think Blood, Sweat, and Tears was designed by a mother. That the same blood, sweat, and tears absolutely came from motherhood, because until you've done that gig, you don't really know what that means.
I really want to see a mom caucus in Congress this year.
Wouldn't that be awesome? That would be awesome. I tell you what, I've learned so much from being a parent. I mean, it's really the biggest life lesson that there is. And parented my children. Obviously, my goal is to raise really wonderful adults, but they've also raised me. You know, you sort of learn how to let go of a lot of ego. You know, you learn how to deal with there being, jelly in your hair, and just the whole thing is it is a full contact sport, parenthood. That is for sure. And it's the best gig ever. No one should miss it if they have any inclinations at all. It is a really tough deal, but it is absolutely worth doing.
Are there any other things that you would like our listeners to be thinking about, either about your campaign or about the Missouri 4th District?
If anyone does want to support a candidate working very hard to flip a Tea Party Republican seat into a progressive Democrat, a hardworking Democrat, we definitely need help. We are not a wealthy district at all, and I definitely need as much money as I can get. And we do have some donors from around the country, individuals, of course, individual people, and the dollars go really far here. One of my billboards only costs $250 a month. I mean, it's a really great and meaningful way to flip a district. And again, really, when you consider it, a blue vote in Congress is a blue vote for this country, and it doesn't really matter where it originates. My goal and my focus is to empower the people again and to create a government where the people's voice is the driving force of this government.
All right. And if people would like to donate, how can they do that?
Well, my website is reneehoagenson.com. It is ReneeHoagenson. And follow me on Facebook. That's where I personally post the most, just because that's what I naturally gravitate toward. Renee Hoagenson for Congress is my Facebook page. We've got about 4,000 folks there, and we are looking to have more, so please join us.
Excellent. And we'll put links to that up on our website as well. And you have a primary on August 7th, and it's not too late for people to register to vote if they live in Missouri 4th.
That's exactly right. Please register and vote in every election. I hope that we always remember throughout the rest of the history of our country, I hope we always remember how important that vote is. I mean, even if you think it doesn't matter, it absolutely matters. And when you don't vote, you're literally voting for the person you least want. So vote, vote, vote. Every election, every single election, every single vote. Huge, huge point.
Hong Kong Confidential, a podcast with Jules Hannaford, is designed to educate and entertain my audience. It's an interview-style show where many topical social issues are discussed and personal stories are shared. The podcast can be inspiring, confronting, harrowing, and at times hilarious. All of the stories have uplifting messages. We all need to be heard to heal. and listening to the experiences of others can often help the rest of us deal with whatever life has to throw at us. Find Hong Kong Confidential on Ozcast Network at www.ozcastnetwork.com. Hong Kong Confidential is also available on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher and YouTube, and anywhere that you can find your podcasts. Check out Hong Kong Confidential today.
Our guest today is Henry Martin. He's a Democrat running to represent the 6th Congressional District in Missouri. Welcome.
Well, thank you, ladies, for having me on. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. I'm wondering if you could just start us off by telling us a little bit about your background and sort of how you decided to run for office.
Well, it's kind of a long story, but I can give the abridged version as much as possible. Actually, back in the 90s, I took an interest in politics shortly after I got out of the Army. I'd been in Germany for the fall of the Berlin Wall, and I was deployed to Iraq and Kuwait for the first Gulf War. So I've always read the paper since about 7th or 8th grade, or actually I had a paper out earlier than that, and I started reading at least the comics. But in the 90s, I was like, well, why don't they just do blah? It was driving me a little crazy. You'd see this stuff, and then I started seeing how much money people were spending on their races. And I was like, holy moly, how does a regular guy run for office? I just assumed that politics was something wealthy people did to occupy their time, because most of them don't have to work. That was a natural assumption. So you fast forward a number of years, teaching degree later, master's degree later, and I start to learn about the inner workings of school finance, school funding, and how everything affected our schools and affected our neighborhoods, and learned a little bit about taxation, what taxation really is, the difference between progressive and regressive taxes, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And then I wrote a letter to President George W. Bush about the No Child Left Behind Act. I got a reply. I was like, wow, I got a reply from the president's office. Then fast forward another 8 years, and Barack Obama happened. And they started to unpack how he did it. And I said, well, maybe that's not so unattainable. And I'd been watching my congressman during that time. From 2008 on, I was focusing on my education career. And then I finally got to a point where, all right, enough is enough. I'm tired of being that armchair quarterback saying you need to do this. It's time to put up or shut up is basically what I came to the conclusion. So I've been out here since last September officially, and I've been trying to earn the trust and support of the voters in the 6th District. And that's been a full-time job almost. I joke sometimes when I tell people I'm on I was saying my 6th oil change. Now I'm on my 7th oil change. This district is enormous. And I really just looked at my numbers from last fall, last summer, and I have put over 50,000 miles on my car.
Oh, wow.
So it has been, the 6th District is geographically gerrymandered, and it's going to be a tough race. So I'm just hoping to make a difference.
Can you tell us a little bit more about Missouri's 6th Congressional District? Can you tell us sort of about the demographics of it? What is it like? The
6th Congressional District is about 96% white. Geographically, it's about, I'd say, 70 to 80% agricultural or rural land. Mm-hmm. And then we do have densely populated counties in Buchanan, Clinton, Jackson, Clay, and Platte. On the west side of the state, and on the east side of the state, our more populous areas are Adair County, Marion County, Macon County, Pike, and Polk. And it's massive. There are 36 counties. Of those 36, I've made it to 24 official visits where I've spoken to people. We've got a trip scheduled for Wednesday to go to Knox County to talk with their growth committee.
So I guess maybe that answers part of one of my questions, which is the incumbent has a lot of money. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned a little bit about how does a regular person do this? You know, is that part of your strategy, as much ground game as you can do as cheaply as possible?
Yeah, we're trying to drum up supporters. One of the reasons why I made it a point to visit every county is because we're going to need boots on the ground everywhere. We've got to knock doors. The one thing that we know will work, because as a Democrat, we already know that our supporters and our voters aren't going to have near as much money to contribute to our campaigns, because average people are spending their time trying to keep the lights on, trying to keep food on the table, and trying to pay their health care bills and their medication bills. So while we do make the phone calls and solicit money, some people say, I just can't do it at this time, or you're getting $5 here, $10 there. Now, don't get me wrong, that $5 here, $10 there, it makes a huge difference when you put it all in one big pot. But I'm not going to be able to reach his numbers as far as fundraising without a lot of help. Programs like yours help to get the word out. And there may be somebody in, say, New York, California, Ohio, Democrat that'll hear your show and say, you know what, let me see what this guy's all about. They go to my website and they see I'm really, really, really that genuine candidate that's going to work for the people. And I say this frequently. I will put the people before the party. This is one I just picked up a couple weeks ago. My general election opponent, the incumbent, he made a statement. Let me not attribute it to him. It was a staffer. The constituent was asking a question and asking for a service. And the staffer said to this lady, said, well, the people we represent are usually a little more conservative than you. And they left it like that. And this job, any elected job, there's a solemn responsibility, a solemn duty, if you will, to represent everybody. Yes, you're going to gain support from one side or the other. That's how you get elected. But when you get elected, you owe your loyalty to all the people in the district or in the country. And when you're only catering to one group of people, you're creating more. You're adding to the divisive politics that we're experiencing in our country. You know, I have a simple philosophy. The United States of America was built on a promise that if you come here and work your butt off, work your tail off, you're guaranteed an opportunity, and our government will see to it that you get that opportunity. But that opportunity has been stripped away from regular people like you and me and anybody else that works 9 to 5, 7 to 3, 7 to 7. We're working our tails off, but we're not seeing the return on our investment of our labor. The biggest lie that seems to be told is that if we give these tax cuts, prosperity will come for everybody. Well, unfortunately, only 4% of the gains from the tax cut have gone to regular people. Regular people are splitting $4 for every $100 created. So we get 4. The wealthy folks are splitting 96 among just a handful of them. And this is the message that we need to drive home.
So you have a lot of issues listed on your website. Mm-hmm. Could you tell us what sort of the issues that are most crucial to you, that are really driving your run for office?
Most critical infrastructure it's a broad and encompassing topic. And what we don't seem to realize is how many things can fall under infrastructure. It's not just our roads and bridges. It's also our healthcare system, the investments that we make in technology, like fiber optic cable for across the country to help bring our rural communities into the information age, where they can be competitive for some of the tech jobs that spring up. And tech jobs can go anywhere, but they really do need bigger access. Healthcare is critical to me, and it didn't really hit home how critical until last August. We had an experience in our family. We almost lost my sister. She fell ill, and it was suddenly, and no one knew it, and she had a brain bleed. Turns out she had an aneurysm, and it had burst open. Well, she lives in the capital city of Missouri, Jefferson City, and there was not a neurosurgeon on staff at any of the hospitals in the capital city of Missouri.
Oh, my.
So they had to take her by ambulance to Columbia, to the University Hospital, which is a 35-minute ride normally. And when I got to the hospital on the 6th of August, and I saw my sister in her most vulnerable position, and I saw her family, what immediately shot into my head, because I'm really plugged into all of this stuff, I said, her family is getting ready to feel the brunt of